Chairman Horn.
Okay, it's 7:02. I think we can call this meeting to order. We have a quorum of 4, and we'll have more coming. The first order of business is to amend the agenda. I have a few items to change. One is to cancel the discussion of the DC Water slope stabilization on Canal Road because DC Water could not participate today. However, we hope that Commissioner Nowak can later on explain where we stand with the slope stabilization. We're going to add to the existing omnibus text amendment discussion, which was about omnibus amendment number 9. We're going to add 15 to that. And we're going to remove from the official actions the Fitzgerald liquor license, because it turns out that what this amendment is doing is something that we already approved last November. So we don't need to do anything.
I second that motion.
All in favor of the amendments to the agenda? Okay, 5 votes.
And it does appear that Commissioner Nowak is here listening.
Okay. Good. So let's move right to the Metropolitan Police report. I see Officer McElwee. Good evening.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can everybody hear me? All right. Thank you, Commissioner Horn, and thanks for having us as always. We appreciate being here. I'm going to go over the crime report first. And those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Officer Anthony McElwee, assigned to the 2nd District. I'm one of your traffic officers. We had a total of 8 offenses reported for the last 30 days. I'm going to start off with, we had 2 robberies. I'm going to start off with the first robbery, which was a pickpocket, which we classify as a robbery. And this occurred at the restaurant located on the 4800 block of Massachusetts Avenue on September 30th around 3 p.m. There was a woman inside the restaurant, and she had her purse attached to her. And unbeknown to her, someone removed an item from her purse. And we titled that as a pickpocketed robbery. Our detectives are going over with the cameras and they're investigating that incident. We also had a robbery that occurred in the 4500 block of MacArthur Boulevard on October 3rd at around 4 p.m. There were several students behind an apartment complex at 4550 MacArthur Boulevard, possibly smoking marijuana. When one of the residents approached, he started to pull his camera out and videotape the individuals, at which time they circled around him and forcefully removed his cell phone. We have several good leads, including a vehicle that was identified that the detectives have issued search warrants, and they're working to hopefully close this case out sooner than later. So with, and I know when Captain Haskins steps in after me, he may have more information, but as of right now, it's still open, but we have some good leads and have identified some individuals of interest. We had one good thing I can say. We had a reduction or decrease of theft from autos in the last 30 days. We did have 6. We'd like to get that down to 0. The same old MOs. They see items inside the cars in plain view. They break the windows out and they take the items and off they go. As I say at all our meetings, please, you know, I'm guilty of it too, but when you park your vehicles, please try and get all the items out of plain view, alarm your car, lock it, and hopefully you'll prevent these types of thefts. Just to give you an idea where the locations are, in case some of your listeners are out there, we had two on MacArthur Boulevard, one on the 4900 block, and one on the 5900 block. We had two in the 4800 block of Massachusetts Avenue and 4800 block of Sedgwick, and one on 4900, 4800, yeah, I'm sorry, 4800 block of Mass. I did mention that. Okay, 4800 and 4900 Mass. We had 8 general thefts. A couple of those thefts happened at the CVS, retail thefts. One happened at the other pharmacy over on New Mexico Avenue, Walgreens, and some items that are just left unattended. So, and while we're on that topic, as I always like to put out, at the front of the second district, we have Amazon boxes. So if you have packages being delivered and you're not going to be there or can't get someone to clear the package off your porch, pick it up, please take advantage of it. It's free. And it's right over here at the second district. With that said, traffic, as far as traffic goes, I've been focusing on MacArthur Boulevard, particularly in the 4600, 4700, and 4500 block. As everybody knows, they just recently repaved. And when you do repave, people pick up their speeds. And we want to remind the motorists and the commuters and everybody that travels that road that we are out there proactively enforcing. Also, in the morning time, you may see me out there in front of MacArthur High School. I'm going to be out there several days in the morning, standing outside the vehicle, not doing a couple of things: high visibility, checking on speeders, and just being seen out there. So you will see me out there from 7 a.m. until 10 a.m., probably Monday and Friday of next week. With that said, I'm open for questions, concerns, complaints.
Officer McElwee, we have a question in the chat, which is, has ICE been causing traffic problems on Canal Road?
No, they haven't. The things that cause trouble out on Canal Road are broken down vehicles. We've had really no police activity out there, no accidents that I know of. Last month we had several accidents and several road obstructions because of those accidents. But to answer your question, no, I don't know of any ICE activity out there.
Commissioner Elkins, you have your hand raised?
Yes, Officer McElwee, I'm noticing more people in my neighborhood, that's in Wesley Heights, as you know, going through stop signs at maybe 15, 20 miles an hour. I mean, not just sort of the California stop kind of problem. No, these people are roaring right through. I think, and it's not just at the normal place where you enforce, which is at 45th and Garfield, but some of the other interior streets. I think maybe a little demonstration that people care, that we all care about people doing that might help if you have some.
Commissioner Elkins, why don't you give me one of those streets and I'll focus in on that for the next 30 days that you're concerned of, and I will bring back with me my stats and the number of stops.
Let me gather some visuals during the next 2 or 3 days and send it to you. I want to make sure I give you the representative ones. Okay.
Outstanding. We will certainly we'll get on that for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Officer McElwee? Would Captain Haskis like to speak?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I am here on the 4800 block of MacArthur in front of the CVS, and the two robberies I could give updates on. The 14500 block of MacArthur, there was a dispute between somebody who felt the students shouldn't be in a rear parking lot, and they weren't. He confronted them and started videotaping them. that tends to escalate things. If you find students or anybody who's not supposed to be somewhere, please call us. That's kind of our job to deal with stuff like that. So if you could just, yeah, we recommend people call us on that. And we have a person of interest. I do think that case will close. As for the one, the pickpocketing up there in Spring Valley, that we've been having an uptick of restaurants where somebody distracts somebody and steals their wallet, steals something from inside their purse. So there's been kind of a uptick on that recently. So please, when you all are out there, please, somebody may try to distract you, or somebody may wait for you to use the restroom, and we're finding that at restaurants. Not so much here in this ANC. That's the first I've heard of it here at this ANC, but it's been happening on Connecticut Avenue and Wisconsin Avenue with increasing frequency. That one I think will get closed eventually, but that one will take a while because there's a lot of video and piecing that together. But the one on MacArthur, there's a person of interest. I think they're very close on that. Otherwise, if anybody has any questions of me.
Is it not is it not an appropriate time to talk about the officer involved shooting?
The officer involved shooting, there's not much more base that I could give than what the press conference gave. The internal investigation by MPD is what we do. It's normal and it's progressing. It's not concluded as of yet. We did recover two knives on the scene, and it's any particular questions asked about it?
Apparently not. Any other questions for Captain Haskis or Officer McElwee?
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
And I'll drop my email in the chat if somebody has thinks of something afterwards.
Thank you. Let's move on to the mayor's office. Mr. Cox is here, right?
He
Yes.
is.
Hi, everyone. My name is William Owen Cox. I'm the Ward 3 liaison for the Mayor's Office of Community Relations and Services. Just a couple quick announcements. My manager and I, Kendall and I will be having office hours this Friday, October 10 at 3:30 p.m. at the Cleveland Park Library. If anyone wants to come walk in and ask any questions or bring any issues, we'll be glad to help out. Leaf season is coming up, so we're all very excited for that. There'll be more information upcoming, but keep an eye out on X, Facebook, and other social media sites for the DPW infographics that are coming up regarding leaf season, including how to rake, how to bag up your leaves, and also links to a live tracker map where you can follow the progress of DPW as they sweep the entire city. So if there are any questions about leaves, feel free to reach out to me and I'll be happy to flag it for DPW. But their website has the best and most up-to-date information regarding what's going to be happening with leaves. Also, just want to mention that this week is the start of our newest addition to the Mokers team. Charity Beam is our faith liaison. She's been doing really, really well. She's not here tonight, but she's really been hitting the ground running. So if you're part of a faith community and are interested in learning more, reach out to her, charity.beam@dc.gov, or reach out to me and I can pass it along to her. but we're glad to have her on the team. She's been doing really well. All right, that's it for me. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Cox? Great.
Thank you.
Let's move on to Nora Charles.
Hi, everyone. So just a quick couple updates from Councilmember Fruman's office. So last week, Councilmember Fruman announced that beginning on October 1st, families receiving temporary assistance for needy families will see an increase in child support pass-through payments from $150 to $200 per month. This change, enacted through the Child Support Reform Amendment Act of 2025, ensures that more money collected from non-custodial parents goes directly into the hands of district families. I will put the link to the press release on Councilmember Fruman's website in the chat so you can learn more details if you're interested in this change. Yesterday, all DC Council met for a legislative meeting, and we'll have another one this month on October 21st. The agenda and more information, including how to watch, is available online on the DC Council website. That's limbs.dccouncil.gov/hearings, looking for archived hearings. And tomorrow, the Committee on Human Services, which the councilmember chairs, will hold a roundtable on the confirmation of Acting Director Rachel Pierre as permanent director of the Department of Human Services, or DHS. Meeting information is available as always on the DC Council website. Our next Ward 3 newsletter will be released tomorrow, and residents can read the newsletter and sign up to receive it directly by email at mattfreemanward3.com. And our next Workday in the Ward event will be on Thursday, October 23rd at Inglova Park. I think the location will be Point Chaud. But stay tuned for details. That's subject to change. And we'll have the similar system of signups by portfolio area so that residents can come with concerns directly to the legislative staffer or the constituent services staffer that handles that issue. And that's all from our office.
Very good. Any questions for Ms. Charles?
No, Chairman Horn, I'd like to spotlight that someone is here from Chairman Mendelson's office and would like to tell us two things. It's Miss Monique Diop.
Yes, do you have something that you'd like to tell us?
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you all hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Thank you so much. My name is Monique Diop. I am the Director of Community Affairs for Councilmember Phil Mendelson. I just want to let you guys know we are going to be having a meetup with Mendo in Ward 3. So this month we're going to be meeting up. If you would like to speak to the chairman, this is for everyone in Ward 3 and those beyond. We'll be there Saturday, October 25th at Politics and Prose from 10 a.m. to 12. Also, too, I wanted to invite the ANCs to our October 29th quarterly ANC meeting, and that's going to be held on Wednesday, October 29th from 7 p.m. till 9 p.m., and it will be on Zoom. So if you guys have any idea of any agencies that you would like to come and meet with and speak with at this meeting, you can reach out to me, and I'll put my contact information in the chat, but it's monique.diop at DC, Monique, I'm sorry, it's MDIOP at dccouncil.gov, and I'll put that in the chat. Thank you.
Can I ask a question, Miss Diop?
Yes, ma'am.
I know one of my constituents is going to want to see the chairman at Politics and Prose. Do they need to make an appointment, or is it one of those things where you show up and get in line?
It is kind of like when you show up and get in line, and it does vary. We try to do a little bit of crowd control, but it just depends. There's not too much happening in the news, so it should be a fairly calm meetup. So just come on up. We do have a numbering system, and we can also sign people in. Our staff will also be there to support any residents that have questions, but just come in. If time does go a little bit over, we stay until we speak to everyone. So feel free to come up and meet us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I would like to, Ms. Diop, there is a massive omnibus zoning text amendment that is going to go to a hearing at the end of this month, where they're jamming together a lot of very significant changes. Is the chairman involved or aware, or these are all together, they are tremendous changes, and they're going to do it all at once.
Okay, does this primarily affect Ward 3? Do you have a specific area that you'd like me to check on? This is
It's
just general for DC all together. Okay.
citywide text amendments.
Okay.
There are 24 of them, is that right, Commissioner Duncan?
There's 24. It's called the text amendment omnibus zoning case or whatever it's
I
called.
would just say, make sure that the chairman is aware of this. This thing is totally under the radar, and it's going to make very substantial changes.
Okay.
I would say the same thing to Ms. Charles, but it's a big deal.
Yes, and we will take it, definitely, we will take it seriously. I don't really speak too much on the legislative or committee affairs, but I will bring this back to my office and I'll get back to you on this amendment in the omnibus. And I'll try to see where we stand on in our office, but I'll definitely get back to you within the week.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Let's move on to, I guess, the universities and colleges. American University, Mr. Millison is here, right? Yes.
Yes, everybody. Hello. Jason Millison, Director of Community Relations for American University. I just wanted to check in with a couple of events that we've got coming up. Since it's fall, students are back, so the campus is buzzing, but that doesn't mean that on the community relations side of things, that we don't have things for neighbors and our constituents to take part in. One thing that we're really proud to announce, and I'll put all of these in the chat, is our Classes Without Quizzes, a really cool event that we came up with that's going to be taking place this Friday, October 10th. It's actually all day from 9:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Kerwin Hall at American University. This event is specifically to show appreciation for our public servants who may be affected right now by the current federal shutdown. So what we're doing is just offering classes with a wide range of topics, from professional development to mindful leadership, AI in the workplace, and a lot of different things that could be kind of career building. It's also a great networking opportunity, as we're going to be blasting this out to all of our community partners that work on the Hill, to make sure that we work on the Hill and with government and current and former government contractors. So please spread this message around to, if you know anyone that's been affected by the government shutdown. This is a good way to get out and network and kind of, show appreciation for those folks who are affected by that. Also, I'm going to leave in the chat our upcoming events that involve AU coming out into the community instead of inviting folks on campus. So we will have a presence at the Janney 5K in November, as well as the Man Turkey Chase. And then from there, just stay tuned for a slew of winter events that are going to center a little bit more around athletics. So I will drop those events in the chat. And anyone who needs to reach out to me, my contact information will be there as well. But really want you guys to pay attention to Classes Without Quizzes this upcoming Friday, October 10th, 9:30 all-day event for federal workers that are affected by the shutdown. It's going to be great, and it's, of course, free of charge. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Millison? Yes, Commissioner Nowak.
I just have a question about the last thing you said, Mr. Millison. Are these Classes Without Quizzes only open to furloughed federal workers, or are they open to all community members?
Right now, I mean, I don't know if they're going to be checking you at the door, to be honest with you. When you register, it's going to ask, some information in the personal information section, I think it gives you like an other section if you want to write that down. So, feel free to sign up and try to, and maybe there's probably a info contact on the end of that registration form. If not, and you don't see a way to sign up as a neighbor or other, typically we have that. But if you don't see that, just shoot me an email and then I can get you a clearer answer. I know it's geared toward federal workers, but I'm also pretty positive they would like to have a good turnout.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I think we have a lot of neighbors who enjoy community events at the university, so I just want to see if this is available to them.
For sure.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, well then let's move on to George Washington University, Kevin Days.
Good evening, commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to share a few updates from the George Washington University. I have two updates I want to share, two events that we think community members will be interested in. Our first one is something called Trick and Eat Food Drive. That'll be occurring on Saturday, October 18th, where GW students will come into the community and be trying to pick up food pickups to share with the Capital Area Food Bank. So if you're interested, you can leave your items on the street or on your doorstep, or the students may ring the bell and ask. But this is a wonderful opportunity for community and the university to get together and support families in need. The second event is a Vern Harvest Festival. This will be occurring on Saturday, October 25th. And this is an annual fall event that the students at the Mount Vernon campus often love to do. It's an event that will take place in the Mount Vernon Quad. That will be occurring on Saturday, October 25th from 2:30 to 5:30. It's an opportunity to enjoy games, snacks, seasonal activities, and just to enjoy the festive fall feeling on campus. It's friendly family, and I was told specifically that I wanted to make sure that I invited community members and their families to join. So I'll drop all of that information in the chat along with my contact information. Again, the way to keep in contact with what's going on campus is to sign up for our newsletter, and I'll put that link in there, and I'm happy to give back a bunch of your time to your agenda.
Great. Any questions for Mr. Days? Okay, let's move on to Corey Peterson from Georgetown.
So sorry about that. It took me a second to turn the camera on. Good evening. I'm Corey Peterson. I'm with Georgetown University. Just one quick update for you all before your next meeting. On Saturday, October 25th, will be our annual Bell Ringer Ride. This is our annual ride to support cancer research here at the Lombardi Cancer Research Center. We start here on the hilltop at our bus turnaround. We're currently at a little over 1,100 riders. They start here and they end up at Smoky Glen Farms. And so if you're interested in riding, I'll drop the information in the chat. You can also take a look at our map and the festivities. We'd love to have you on campus and help support cancer research.
Very good. Any questions? Okay. I don't see Wesley. Ms. Rutherford, did you want to say anything about the field school? I know that you've been working with the Transportation Committee.
Sure. So there was an update to the Transportation Committee about the guidelines that are set forth in the order of approval from the BZA about transportation monitoring. And I know that the committee took up that question about, because even though the order is official, that construction work hasn't taken place yet. So there's been no change. So whether it made sense to defer the monitoring until after that. So I know that issue is taken up with the ANC Transportation Committee. I just did want to update again, because of the order was issued, at almost record speed. The school is moving ahead, getting its permits. It has not started construction yet, still waiting for some of those permits, but everything is moving along again in the right order. They hope to start construction soon.
Great. Any questions from anyone? Okay. I do not see Kai Spiescher from the German Embassy. don't see anyone who's likely to be from the German embassy, right?
That might be my fault. I
No, no,
forgot to include them on my Zoom.
things seem to be moving in that. So why don't we move to the commissioner updates, starting with Commissioner Elkins.
Thank you. Last year, Councilmember Fruman asked me to serve on a task force on trying to find the practicality and appropriate feasibility of a senior center in Ward 3. We have more seniors in Ward 3 than any other ward, and yet we, along with Ward 2, really are the only ones that don't have a senior center. And so I have to say that having served on that task force at the beginning, I was skeptical given the transportation or lack thereof in Ward 3 that a central location would be possible and whether it would cost more than the council would be willing to pay. But I'm happy to report that the work group has finished its work. The department is still working its way through with its report up to the mayor, and so it's going to be a while before you hear the results. But I am beginning my lobbying, shall we say, that I have changed my mind about this, that in fact a senior center, I think, would make sense, particularly in Tinleytown, as I've looked at the new transportation modes that people from a lot of different places in Ward 3 can get to Tinleytown. And so my skepticism about that has faded. And secondly, we looked at some places in Tinleytown that are potentially available. And I was encouraged about that. I can't get into detail at this point, but I think the important thing for those of us who care about these things like this, and that includes both this commission, but also people in the audience, is we will need to convince the mayor to put enough money into the budget to fund this. And I don't have a number for you yet, but of course it's in the millions. We may want to start that this fall, even before the report comes out. So I'll be back to you on that. But if there's anybody in the audience, and of course, on the commission as well, who is interested in more details on this, feel free to call me or contact me, 3D01. Thanks.
Very good. Commissioner Duncan?
I have an update on the bus situation at MacArthur High School. Neighbors may have noticed the last 2 days, well, not today, like major police presence, and I have been what it seems to be screaming into the void about the lack of bus service to the high school in the afternoon. And there are sometimes 40 students sitting there waiting, sometimes 60 students at an hour after school lets out. Anyway, it finally got elevated, I think, because there was a kerfuffle between the MacArthur High School students and the Duke Ellington students. And I also wrote an email, said that if this doesn't change, I'm going to the press. But today, for the first time ever, the buses ran according to the Better Bus schedule. And by 3:58, school lets out at 3:30. By 3:58, all the students were gone. So I think Commissioner Simkowitz was out there with me today. He had heard from some of his constituents, and I'm taking this as a win. DCPS is out Thursday, Friday, and Monday this week, but I'll be out there next week in the afternoon. I have a direct line to WMATA now, and I think this is persistence pays the way. I don't know what saying I'm trying to think of. Anyway, I do have some terrible news. Black coffee is not going into the Fitzgerald space. The space just wasn't working for them. You know, no tenant has ever been in there. I spoke to Bill Brewer yesterday. They are back to talking to grocery stores and other things. But to remind everybody, Trammell Crow has 2 years to find some kind of grocer tenant after they open. So I think May 2025. So technically they have till May 2027 to find us something, but they don't want that space empty either. I've got a lot of people out there talking to people and looking, but that is not great news. But Black Coffee also said that I could say to people they are still interested in coming back to the neighborhood, so they're not giving up just that location. That's it. I should have started with that and finished with the bus.
Did you want to mention, I mean, we all know, but mention the survey that that the ANC is doing about the trolley and
Oh, of course.
maybe-
Actually, maybe I'll leave that to Commissioner Blumenthal if he'd like to. He worked just as hard on that.
Yes. Okay. Well, then
Right.
let's go to Commissioner Colin Roosevelt, and then we'll go to Commissioner Blumenthal.
I think DDOT just started construction on like repaving an alley between Yuma and Albemarle Street. And so there will be like no parking signs. I think they just started today. It should only be a week, but until then, like they'll pick up trash in front of the houses. If anyone has any questions, feel free to email me or text me. I can put you in contact with them. I'm not really sure how annoying this will be, but we'll see. That's all I have.
Very good. Commissioner Blumenthal?
Well, I wasn't going to have an update other than to apologize for being a little late, but I will I don't see a lot of constituents online with us tonight, but for anyone who happens to be on who doesn't know, we are running, it's a combination of a survey and a walkthrough of the information presented by DDOT to the community about the preliminary plan for both the bridge and the connecting trail. So you can use it to both get up to speed on what's being proposed, to click through to the link to the full presentation, and I think to the recording of the presentation if you're interested, and you can leave your reactions, both thumbs up to particular proposals, more in-depth comments if you want to go there. The link to this is on the front page of ANC3D.org. So that's the easiest way to find it. And that's all I've got for tonight.
We'll be reposting that to the listserv every so often too.
Right. And it will remind me, Commissioner Duncan, how long it'll be up until
the 23rd
of October. Okay.
Very good. I have nothing special to add. Commissioner Nowak?
You're on mute.
Sorry. I don't have an official action on this tonight, but I did want to give my fellow commissioners a heads up that I attended the MacArthur High School SIT team meeting last week, and these are parents and community members who are advising the high school and as it relates to construction as well as some other needs of the school. And one of the things we talked about are things that DCPS continues not to fund at the high school. And one of the areas discussed was where the school might find grants or other funding sources. So I talked to Principal McCrae and asked him to put together sort of a wish list of things that the ANC might consider for grant funding, and outlined for him what the criteria are for ANC grants. And we agreed to work together over the next 30 days or so and have something to present for the November meeting. So just a heads up of what's coming forward for that.
Commissioner, we took the Canal Road slope stabilization off the agenda because they're not speaking tonight. Do you have any kind of update?
So I have been hearing from some neighbors that is challenging, again, unsurprisingly, that the shuttle service and the closed sidewalk are creating challenges for pedestrians. And the complaints are those that we expected as I was reviewing the minutes from last meeting. Commissioner Simkowitz specifically called out the need for additional signage about the closure. There are signs there. They're small, they're vague. It's, I think, befuddling to people. I would like to get down there and talk to the shuttle driver myself and see what the process is to actually call the shuttles, because as I have gone past the area in question, I haven't seen a phone number or way that one would, call for the shuttle. So I'd like to drill into that a little bit more, and perhaps it's on a sign in very small print that I haven't yet seen. So those are the nature of the concerns and complaints.
Thank you. Commissioner Simkowitz?
Well, I've got several updates. Number one, I was walking past the void when Commissioner Duncan was yelling into it. And I ran out. I said, "What's wrong, Commissioner Duncan?" She said, "There's this problem at MacArthur High School." So we were out there today for an hour. And I want to list the people that were there to show how much hard work she did on getting this. Owen Cox, who's our moker, was there. His boss, Kendall Gibson, talked to us on the phone. Before that, we had Officer McElwee, Captain Haskis, the principal, the dean of students, several other MPD officers, and a WMATA officer were all there. So her screams resulted in some help for the poor kids at MacArthur High School. So thank you, Commissioner Duncan. I was walking past Georgetown Hospital one afternoon, and as many people know, we've had a problem with people discharged from the hospital. This, in the end, was not a discharge. It was there was a lady who appeared a little confused. She was an elderly woman, and I walked past around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I really didn't think anything of it other than she was sitting on the ground, but she could have been waiting for a bus. I came by later that night on my way to the movie theater at about 10 o'clock at night, and she was still there. So I got out and I ascertained what was going on. She wasn't a patient at the hospital, so it had nothing to do with the hospital other than she was there. It had been raining really hard that day. She never moved, so I called 911 and the unhoused shelter hotline. So I would recommend, if anybody ever comes across an individual that something doesn't look right, call 911 and the unhoused shelter hotline, because they both came and they took the woman to an appropriate place. I don't know where that was, but I was late for my movie, so I wanted to make sure she at least got some attention. She did, and I haven't seen her back there. She was visiting the district, and she was passing through to visit somebody in the state of Maryland. Why she was at that particular place, I don't know. She didn't even know there was a hospital behind her, so she was obviously very confused. But the slope project, I walked down there a couple days ago just to watch what's going on, and I saw several people walking in the median on Canal Road, and every time I've driven by, which is probably once a day, I see somebody either approaching that area or walking on that median, and this is completely unacceptable. Andrew Beath has been very proactive, and Councilmember Fruman has done an excellent job. On Rosh Hashanah, he walked down after his dinner and inspected it for himself, which I think was really amazing that he would take the time to do that. So everybody's looking at this. We don't have any answers, and that's really frustrating, but it's frustrating to us as well as the members of the community. I have an update on the Patty Bollinger death. On September 11th, there was a court hearing where the defendant pled guilty to the charge of failure to give right of way to a pedestrian. I don't know why there was I would have charged a more serious charge like reckless driving, negligent homicide, but that was what it was pled to. There was no confinement in the end. It was a 30-day sentence, 30-day jail sentence, but it was all suspended, so that meant there was zero actual jail time and a $50 fine. Probation of 9 months, community service, and a traffic safety program. I believe that we should ask the Attorney General to come in and defend that very light sentence and plea, and I hope that we do that at some point. I have not heard back from anyone in the Attorney General's office with regard to my complaint about that.
Hi, good evening. Hi, I wanted to join this meeting. I'm actually a family member of Patty. So I did read your letter, and I'm happy to give some more context in light of the concerns you outlined in your letter, how the family feels, etc. So hi, my name is Alex Meehan. I actually am now the owner of her place and off of MacArthur Boulevard. So happy to be a member of the community. I saw that there seems like, JP, I don't know if this is just you or a feeling of everyone here on the restorative justice program. I'm happy to explain, but based on your letter, it seems like there is a grave misunderstanding of what that is. And it is by no means in lieu of the court process.
Okay.
Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure that that's clear. It happens outside of the court process, and it's something my father and I chose to participate in. And it is by no means a sentence. The court understands that happened, if they're not privy to the results of it either. So from the family's perspective, I do want to add one other piece. In terms of the punishments that she had, my father and I, her only living family members, chose not to be included in any of that process. The restorative justice meeting was really important, and we thought it was successful in terms of bringing the community back together after a very horrific incident. So I know Crystal Matthews' name is out there. I can let everyone know here that she is really apologetic, sad, remorseful, and this will stick with her for the rest of her life. So I just want to make that clear that the family does appreciate and respect how she handled herself in that restorative justice meeting. That's all I think is appropriate to say here. And then in terms of this going to the DC Attorney General, when we met with the attorneys, unless it is sort of like a different type of murder, like this will never be escalated up to the United States. It will always go down to the DC Attorney General. And we didn't understand that either. We're not totally familiar with court proceedings. My father and I are not lawyers. We are satisfied with the outcome as her family. I understand that she's a member of community, and those of you who knew her, she was a wonderful person and really involved herself in a lot of things. So I think it's that everyone has entitled to feel how they feel about what happened. I just want to let everyone know from the family's perspective, we are satisfied with moving forward. In terms of speeding up and down, the roads in the area, that's a whole another concern that I think should be addressed. And I'm sure there's more solutions, and that's been talked about. This is my first time I've been on these meetings. Anyways, I think I've spoken enough, but I just thought it was really important as one of her only living family members to address everyone here. So thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that very much.
Ditto. We appreciate you coming very, very much.
And let me tell you that we, nobody wanted to see this happen, but there has been some changes as a result of the Transportation Committee led by Commissioner Elkins. This whole ANC, Commissioner Nowak, and I share this street. That's the border between our districts. Every single one of us here has been very concerned about traffic and traffic safety the entire time we've been on the commission, every single one of us. And this is something that really hurt us deeply, I'm sure you can imagine. We represented your aunt, and your aunt was a member of our community. We didn't want to see this happen. But what we did get out of this is the city has taken more responsibility and has made some necessary improvements that we had been asking for several years that are traffic calming measures. There's, I don't know what they're called. There's some kind of plastic poles that are set up that slow the speed down. They prevent turning in far ways. There is also a traffic island at the Hardy Park entrance. It's a pedestrian crossway, not a traffic light, and that was installed last week. So there are some improvements that have been made directly as a response to this incident. And thank you so much. And we're sorry that you had to come here today.
No, thank you for having me. I know no one granted me permission, but thank you for all listening to me. It's just really important to both me and my father that her death isn't leveraged in terms of retribution towards Ms. Matthews. That's extremely important to me as a member of a community, as her family member, and what I know that her wishes are. So it does make me very happy that this is turned into, resulting in a safer community. So it was really important for me to say that. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Well, that was the first of our community concerns. If there's any other citizens who wanted to speak about something that's not on the agenda, this would be the time to do so.
Commissioner Horn, before that, I stuck my hand up because
yes,
my virtual hand, because I wanted to just add something to Commissioner Nowak's update. I happened to be I came up Canal, west on Canal. It was yesterday about 11 a.m. and there were a series of tree removal trucks that had parked in and were blocking one of the lanes. And my memory was that I thought that work was supposed to be scheduled for nighttime. There was not a terrible backup at that hour. It was a little bit, but I just want to flag that. It seemed discordant with what we were told of the plans that they were taking out a lane in the middle of the day.
Yeah, I think that the agreement, Commissioner Blumenthal, is that anytime a lane had to be blocked, it would be limited to the hours of 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. or then 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. So
they were safely within that range, and it didn't look like they were setting up for long term. I assume it was cleared out.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, well, I think we can move to discussions. The BZA application that Mr. Bush will talk to us about, Joseph Bush. If you have a presentation, we could show it.
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner Horn. Yes, we do have a presentation. If you can let me share my screen.
You should be good to go.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Oops.
There we go. Perfect.
Great, thanks. So you can see my screen. Excellent. So yes, just to provide very brief background. So I'm presenting on behalf of JYL Healing, and Jiang Yan Li is here with me. We've been involved for quite some time with the building department, and have gotten to the stage in our process of applying for an exception to the zoning regulations as is required for massage establishment. Let me just give you just very quickly some background. So Jiang Yan, or Anna Li, is the owner. She's a massage therapist and a housewife. And I'm an advisor. I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not a facilitator. I'm a librarian by training. I'm a heart attack survivor, and I've been a beneficiary of Anna, who's very much helped me with stress reduction and things like that. Over time, we've become friends. So what we're working on is we've made an application for a special exception under subtitle U, section 513(1), subsection H, to change the use of this space as a commercial tenant on the second floor of 4818 MacArthur Avenue. And we've shared with the commission through the chair the sort of summary documents that were submitted to the BZA that provide kind of the technical information about this particular property. If you want those details, we weren't going to cover those in this presentation. What we wanted to do is just to tell you a little bit about what we're trying to do. We're trying to open a business called Eastern Reflexology Spa that would provide foot massage and other forms of deep tissue massage, and then some other Chinese medicine practices. And on the right is a picture of the property. It's the second floor that we're talking about. And we're still, the actual hearing with the BZA is not until December 3rd, I believe. So we'll be posting signs about the hearing, but mailings have already gone out to all of the property, all of the owners within 100 yards of the property, as is required by the process. We also understand that the commissioners have a particularly strong voice in any exceptions that are made to the zoning rules. And we shared information going back to the summer with Commissioner Horn as the chair, just to say that this was coming up, and then reached out to him when we actually began the process of working with the BZA and getting close to the point of having our application accepted. So now that we've gotten to that point, we're pleased to have the opportunity to just run through briefly what we're planning to do and how we're trying to respond to the zoning regulations, and to answer any questions that you might have. And there are three criteria and that are in the regulation, that the establishment would be compatible with other uses, that it wouldn't be objectionable because of noise, traffic, or other conditions, and that it wouldn't have an adverse impact on institutions that are located in the area. And we just, this is covered in the documents, but just wanted to make it a little bit more visual for you. We're located, or we will be located down towards the end of the business strip that's just above the Reservoir Road. And there's a lot of businesses in this area, but it's a mixed use area. There's also some residential, including right on MacArthur. The new Fitzgerald senior living in the old Safeway is just across the street, and the CVS in the old MacArthur Cinema is right across the street as well. But among the businesses here, there's a lot that actually are already would be Section 513 special exception uses. There's some fast food restaurants, or primarily fast food. There's some animal boarding in the area, and that are neighbors actually. And then there's an animal hospital and also a gas station. So there's already other businesses that have been in the area for some time, some of them and others newer, that exceptions have been made. And among the other businesses, they're also more or less compatible. A lot of them are personal services, such as now spas and personal trainers. And there's also professional services. including the dentist and the pharmacy and clinic across the street. And in this building, there's a childcare facility as well that we regularly interact with. And the owners also are quite nice. We've been talking with them during the entire time and trying to make sure that they're okay with what we're doing. The new foot massage spa we think would be compatible with the existing businesses, or we hope that we can make that case. And we think that it'll also probably provide enhanced value to them as well through referrals. Since what we're offering is something that works well with personal training, with the nail spa and other businesses in the area. And the second criteria about the character of the neighborhood, this is a pretty small establishment. It's only its square feet are very small. There are three what we might call treatment rooms. So there couldn't be more than three clients or customers at one time. And there's nothing really special that's being done here. It's manual reflexology and acupressure. There's no electrical, water, or sonic equipment that would be employed. So it's very basic and won't really cause traffic or noise. And the other thing of concern might be the business hours. And there's quite a few restaurants here, and the pharmacy as well have pretty similar hours. And then, of course, up the street, there's Black Salt, which is another well-known popular restaurant. So it's, again, very consistent with the kind of activity that's going on here. And then finally, and this one is, the one that's a little bit trickier, of course, it's about not having any adverse impact on religious, educational, or other institutions. And we want to make the point that that we're really focused on healthy living and quality of life. This is a business like others in the area. Not something that's different. It's going to attract other people. We wanted to be in this area because we thought that this is an area in which there are people who would find this a service that would be of interest to them, and it would be nice to have it nearby in the neighborhood that they can walk to, or they can drive to, or take the bus to along MacArthur. There's also all these other businesses that are compatible in the area and are not having an adverse effect, but are making the area lively. And JOL Healing wants to be an active participant in the Palisades neighborhood. We've been reaching out to the ANC, and we've already joined the Palisades Community Association, and we really want to strive to be a member of the community, not just a business on a street. So that's what we wanted to sort of put before you, just so that you know what's in the package, what we're thinking about, what we've been planning for. And if you have any questions for us, we're happy to respond to them now if we can, or if other questions come up or other documents or anything, please let us know. Thank you.
That's great. So just for people's information, this is informational tonight, and we'll vote on the BZA application at the next meeting. Commissioner Duncan, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, just for clarity on where this is this going to be on the second floor of one of those row houses, and Little Ivy's is underneath?
That's correct. It's the same building that Little Ivy's is in. They're downstairs.
It's been so long since I've been inside Little Ivy's. Is there like a private vestibule that shoots the stairs upstairs?
Yeah, exactly. So You can't, I don't know if you can quite see it in the photo in the PowerPoint. But yeah, there's a little vestibule when you come in, and there's a door to there are two entry doors. There are entry doors with locks, but they're glass, so you can sort of see through them. And one goes up the stairs. And there used to be, for a long time, there was a design architect upstairs. As far as we can tell, and I don't know because I don't live here. I live over in the Forest Hills neighborhood. But as far as we can tell, he'd been here since the 1980s. Upstairs, and it had been a commercial space. So the stairs go up, and if you go left, that the first floor and the basement, the Little Ivies has, and they also use the backyard.
And I know Narisa a little bit, the owner of
Yeah.
Little Ivies. You said that you've been in communication with them, so they know
Oh, yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah. We've been talking with them from the very beginning. We, the process, the zoning comes at the end of the process. We've been working with the building department to get a permit to change the use. And we've actually had to have drawings, and we had to have an engineer come in as well and go through the whole building. So we worked with them a lot, and and one of the things we've been joking with them, saying, we're going to give you all this great documentation of the building, which nobody had before.
It's their grand plan.
Yeah, so not that we hope that people won't need it. It's a pretty well-maintained building, and the landlord's been very cooperative as well. But it's basically, we're trying. We want to comply with all the regulations because we happen to be a business that requires them, just like Little Ivy's as childcare business, and they have to. So we talk with them all the time.
Right. So are there any other questions for Mr. Bush? We have a little time to look at the plans, but I think that was great. That was very useful. Thank you very much.
Right. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'll be very responsive. And otherwise, thank you very much. It was very interesting to also see what an ANC meeting looks like. It's the first time I've been to one.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Let's go to official actions. The first one is AU Campus Plan Amendment. I believe Commissioner Elkins has this.
Yes, I do, but is American University prepared to make a presentation or not? I was not clear about that.
Yes, Commissioner Elkins, Sherry Rutherford here for AU. I'm happy to make a brief presentation, but I'd appreciate if you want to introduce our matter.
Great.
So, Ms. Rutherford, you can share your screen, but you did send me the thing if you want me to do it.
Sure, no, I'm happy to share. You all see my screen?
Yep. Perfect.
Great. Excellent. Well, it's very good to see all of you again tonight. My name's Sherry Rutherford. This evening, at least this part of the evening, I'm here on behalf of American University on what is really a very a minor in scope project, but just as I'll describe to you as we move through the presentation, you'll understand why I'm here, why it has to go through a zoning procedure. So what we're talking about is a renovation to the sports center, and we're moving through the zoning process as a proposed modification without a hearing. Just a quick overview of what we'll be talking about tonight. I mentioned it's the focus of this application is the sports center building, which is the home to Jacobs Fitness Center on campus, as well as Bender Arena and Reeves Aquatic Center. So if any of you have used the pool or attended a basketball or volleyball game, you've been in the sports center building. It's part of the AU Student Thriving Initiative, which you've heard us talk about before. We specifically spoke about it in detail as part of the Alan and Amy Meltzer Center for Athletic Performance and the Sports Center Annex Further Processing, which this ANC supported unanimously, and it was also approved unanimously by the Zoning Commission back in July of 2023. That project is this close to being completed. I believe it'll be open in January. So Again, a phenomenal project that will really help transform that area of campus and very much awaited by this university as well as our neighbors as well, who will be able to use that sports court, multi-purpose court in the back. Again, we're seeking a modification without a hearing to allow for a very modest infill of about 3,000 square feet on the second floor of the sports center building. And I'll show you some plans that explain why we need to go through this process. There's no change in the building footprint. There's no change in the primary building use. It really is just this infill of a bit of that was an open mezzanine area. If you take the square footage we're talking about tonight, this is about 3,000 square feet, combine it with the 35,000 square feet that were part of the Sports Center Annex project, it's well below what was proposed and approved for Site 5 in the 2021 campus plan, which allowed for 55,000 square feet of GFA for that area. So that's really what, again, the overview of what we're here to talk about tonight. So just for some context, this is an exhibit from the campus plan, Exhibit J, which talks about the proposed building uses and the proposed development sites in the campus plan. This inset to the right is referenced in our key plan here, and it shows the location of sites 3 and 5. That's site 3 is the Meltzer Center for Athletic Performance. Site 5 is the Sports Center Annex. And again, as I mentioned earlier, those two were approved by the commission and this and the zoning commission, as well as the ANC, back in 2023. The subject of our conversation tonight is within the Sports Center building itself, and it is the existing Jacobs Fitness Center. So really located within the heart of the AU campus. So what we're talking about is a renovation to the first and second floors of this building. So what we have on the left is a demo plan of the existing site, the existing sort of orientation, and then the renovation plan. So what the first plan would take what is existing as the Jacobs Fitness Center, demo that site, reconfigure it in a more efficient area, and just make better use of that space, and then relocate some of the equipment that had been there will be relocated over into the Center for Athletic Performance. So no real change in GFA, nothing to really see here other than some reconfiguration of space, which would never trigger zoning review. It would be just a standard renovation of interior space that the university does on a regular basis. What causes the issue is on the second floor, there is an area that's currently a mezzanine area that overlooks the fitness center. And what the university would like to do is fill in the area that looks down on this first floor. So really, at this point, given the needs of the university, that mezzanine area and that sort of overlook area is essentially wasted space. And they'd like to just fill that in with build a new slab for the second floor and use that area now as program space, but rather than that overlook area. So you have here the demo plan. It shows the area to be infilled, and then this would be the renovation plan. And what it would be included what it would provide for is taking this existing office area, which is used by the Department of Athletics, and allow it to be, again, the part of the Center for Wellbeing and Student Health that we've talked about at prior meetings with the commission. So here we just have some conceptual renderings of what this new renovated space would be. So here we are on the first floor. So here's the new entrance vestibule for the Jacobs Fitness Center. Again, now just as a single level, not a double space level or double space area. Again, some renderings of the space that will be, how the space will be used. And then we get to the second floor. This would be the student health area and the student and the clinical areas for the Center for Wellbeing and Psychological Services to help serve the student population. So in terms of our proposed project schedule, this project has been in design for quite some time, since February. And really what happened was as the designers took it through the process is when they realized they could really make better use of this 3,000 square feet of mezzanine space if they made it into program space. And that's sort of when it got to my desk of like, what do we need to do because of this additional GFA that's created? As I mentioned, because there is no sort of anytime GFA is added to a campus, even if it doesn't add footprint, it does trigger zoning review. There is no de minimis exception. If there would, this would be a great example for it. But because it is not, we've talked to the Office of Zoning and the Office of Planning, and they've suggested that this would be the appropriate mechanism. So now that we're finalizing that design, we're now moving into the zoning review process, which if we can file with them, or if we can proceed with the application for modification without a hearing, we could not really, we wouldn't lose much time on our schedule. We could file by October 15th as our target. And then we would anticipate action by the zoning commission by November 20th. So you see this mechanism that is, fully within the zoning code and for use, just this type of thing for a small matter that doesn't really require a hearing. The parties would be given notice, they could participate, they could provide feedback, but it's, the zoning commission would determine this without a hearing and just, on the merits of the case. If we can follow through this process, then permitting would proceed immediately thereafter, after that action by the zoning commission. Hopefully have that in place by February of 2026. Construction, as you see, through September, with installation and completion by late 2027. So with that, I'm here to, happy to answer any questions, review anything that you've heard, but we're seeking the ANC's support. And first of all, just for the support of the project, that addition of about 2,900 square feet within the footprint of the existing building and no change of use. And then also just support of the process of that modification without hearing process.
Commissioner Duncan?
Thank you. That was very informative. I guess I just have one question, because we usually weigh in on these things after an institution has filed.
Sure.
Are you asking us to weigh in so that our agreement with this or our okay with this plan gets submitted so that you're more likely to have this granted as a modification without a hearing? Just to
That
sort of
is-
speed up the timing?
Yes, and start this process. And so I'll be very honest with you. My hope would have been that the application would have been finalized so that we would have had that before tonight. So you could have seen the full application. So, and the reason we were asking for the support now prior to actually filing the application was just that. In the past, when I've worked on applications such as this, it just helps the commission know that, we've reviewed this with the stakeholders and that, the parties to the case, including the ANC, don't believe that this relief requires a hearing. We've spoken with we've reviewed this matter with the facilities planning working group of the AU Neighborhood Partnership. They're in support of this. We're coming to you as well as ANC3E. It's not required. I feel strongly that just we meet the criterion under the zoning code, but at the same time, I just felt it was the right thing to do to come to you all first and make sure that, first of all, you don't have any concerns with this. And if you do believe that this is an appropriate use of that mechanism, that that you let the zoning commission know that. It would be helpful for sure.
Mr. Chairman, I have a letter which I want to put in front of the commission. It's a very simple letter that basically says that we don't see any impact on the neighborhood from this, and that we encourage the zoning commission to go on and consider this matter without holding a hearing. Normally, I think in a more complicated case, absolutely, we want to see the application and go through all this. I think in this case, we should recognize this is a minor modification and that we should be supportive of the university in trying to help them move forward without a hearing.
All right. I take that as a motion. Is there a second?
Commissioner
Second.
Nowak.
Yes, Commissioner Duncan. Is there any discussion or debate about this motion?
I just want to add, I'll be in full support. The fact that the Neighborhood Partnership Working Group has looked at this and they're on board. Very serious people who take all of the neighbors' concerns into account. I have no issues.
Very good. Any others? All right. All in favor of...
Mr. Chairman, I might just add, the letter itself has some information in red font that basically says we weren't sure at the time we drafted this that it was about approximately 3,000 square feet, and we wanted to make sure that we were accurate about that. That is an accurate figure, and therefore we can take that out of the letter.
Yes, that is correct.
All right. So the motion is to accept this letter with this the alteration to make it accurate. All in favor? 7 in favor, none against. let's move to the omnibus text amendments.
Thank you very much for your time. We really do appreciate it. If you have any questions, please do follow up. Enjoy your
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
The omnibus text amendments, Commissioner Duncan, you want to explain? There are two letters here.
All right, I would propose that we do these separately. So I'm going to start with a motion to approve the letter regarding the vehicle parking requirement changes, which is omnibus text amendment number 9. Do I have a second?
I'd like to second that.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and set this up. People, and I'm going to use the MacArthur Apartments that we approved as an example. Anything in the city that has been built under the 1958 zoning regulations has a certain amount of parking. But we are a major metropolitan city that has better transportation. We're moving into more of a car-free city. So in 2016, under new zoning regulations, that parking requirement was vastly reduced. And I think overall with the city, it's working really well. In parts of the city where there is not good transportation, sometimes we feel a little bit squeezed. So when the new apartments were being proposed, the new apartments were under the 2016 parking requirements, but the existing retail, since it hadn't changed use, were still under the 1958. Under this omnibus bill, item number 9 is saying we want to get rid of all of the 1958 zoning requirements for all buildings. And what this would mean is that people could start getting rid of their parking. And if I'm going to be totally honest, I think for most of the city, this is probably a pretty good idea. I don't think people here have ever thought of me as someone who was pro parking. I've been accused of having a war on cars. But one thing that I also know in this neighborhood is that we don't have good transportation. We are the only ANC, I say this all the time, that doesn't have high frequency bus service within our borders, adjacent to our borders, even near our borders. And I don't see how this doesn't negatively affect our community. Now, I gave when the Office of Planning was doing their thing, I gave these comments to them and they ignored them. But what my letter suggests is that they go ahead with their text amendment, except for buildings that are not within a certain distance of Metro Rail or high frequency bus service. And if they were to adopt that, if they gave us high frequency bus service, we would be all subject to the 2016 zoning regulations. And I think that if they were to make this change, it would protect us and it would ease us into those 2016 parking minimums. But until we get the high frequency bus service, we could potentially see, a lot of cars parked everywhere because people need their cars here, unfortunately. I will stop talking. I'm happy to take questions. I have gotten some comments that they think that this is not a great idea, but I think it's a good idea.
I would like to comment on this. This amendment, which is stuck in with 23 other text amendments, would have a massive impact all across the city, because all of the buildings that require parking, which should be, like office buildings and apartments, that were built between 1958 and 2016, which has got to be 80% of all such buildings. I mean, would be a tremendous percentage of the buildings that are required to have parking, that their parking requirements would be cut dramatically with one quick text amendment without any discussion. The city council doesn't know anything about it, apparently. There's no mention of it in the newspaper. nobody knows this is going to happen. And we're talking about thousands of buildings across the city and maybe 10,000 parking spaces that could go away. I mean, this is a big deal. So I support the letter, although I would go further, but I think that the letter is what we can do. I think Commissioner Elkins, did you raise your hand or who was it?
Yes, I did. I just wanted to say, and I don't have the exact thing in front of me, perhaps Commissioner Duncan does, that there's another provision of these 24 amendments that does take advantage of the 0.25 miles from a high frequency bus service or 0.5 miles from a metro rail service. So we are not inventing this concept of when parking is relevant. That the OP has come up with this on their own in another provision, and am I correct about that? And that this is simply extending that concept that we should govern parking needs to some extent based on the nearness of high frequency bus traffic, bus service, and a metro station. So we're not reinventing the wheel here. And I think in some way, and I think we have a special case. When I asked the zoning people, zoning office people about what the origin of the changes in 2016 were about changing it, they essentially advised in two regards. One was, as indicated, that there's more public transportation across the city, and secondly, that car ownership is decreasing. And it may well be that in our neighborhood, car ownership is decreasing, but boy, it's not very much, if at all. And so I think that doesn't apply to us, and it certainly doesn't apply to us that we're close to high frequency bus service. So I think this letter is very appropriate.
Yes, Commissioner Nowak.
I want to speak in support of the letter and specifically with the metric of tying it to the high frequency bus service for the reason that we are not saying we are for parking or against parking. What we're saying is that we are for parking in the absence of the alternative. And that's a very easy metric for the council, the zoning commission, whomever to measure. It's not subjective. And it's not a question of, well, this parking is good parking and that parking is bad parking. For parking to go away, there need to be alternative means of transportation. And in the absence of those, people will continue to drive. So I think this is a well-reasoned letter and suggestion, and we'll be voting in support.
All right. So did you want to, shall we vote on this letter and then we'll move to the next letter?
I would propose that.
Okay.
Oh, one thing that's not in the letter, I would like to put in here who is going to be able to sign up to testify. So friendly amendment, I am going to put either my name or Commissioner Horn, and he and I will figure out depending on our schedules, because
Okay.
I think that this is also unbelievable. They have the zoning hearing at 4 p.m. on a Thursday, October 30th. It's a Monday hearing at 4 p.m. to hear testimony on 25 miniature text amendments. I mean, someone's going to be up all night. All right, I'm ready to call the question.
All right. All in favor of approving this letter? Aye. 7 votes in favor. Okay, let's talk about the next letter, which is about text amendment 15. Commissioner Elkins, you want to explain that?
If I could share my screen, please.
Give me one moment. You should be good.
This diagram, can everybody see this diagram? This
Yes.
this amendment has to do with how close people can build their houses to the street. And that's an issue of particular importance to our respective neighborhoods. Because in our neighborhoods, as we all know, our houses sit back from the street somewhat compared to a number of neighborhoods across the city. So we have a particular interest in this. And if you think about it, the way in which the houses sit close to the street or back from it gives a certain character to the neighborhood and is of interest to everybody on that block. In fact, for the whole neighborhood, but particularly for the people who live on that block. So here we have the rules in the current process. You'll see a little gray area. I don't know whether you see my cursor, but it's this gray area here in which houses can be within that area, but not further without permission. And the gray area is based on what the current situation is on that block. So in this particular block, it's drawn where you see it. Now, if you want to be closer to the street under today's rules, you need to go in for a variance, which shows essentially hardship of why you need to be further closer to the street than your neighbors, and thereby upsetting the streetscape. The Office of Planning is suggesting that we change this to a special exception, which is basically a question of whether the light and air around the house for your neighbors is affected. Well, my view is that special exception, air and light have nothing to do with this thing here. It has more to do with side setback and backyard setback, where neighbors do have legitimate concerns about light and air and should be able to argue that in front of the BZA, as they do, because that's one of the requirements when you go forward on the special exception. If they change this to special exception, what arguments are neighbors going to be making about air and light? That's just not relevant. What's really relevant is changing the character of the street and the streetscape, but that's not relevant in a special exception. It would be relevant in the case of a variance. Now, granted, variances, you have to show some hardship, and so it is substantially harder to get a variance than it is to get a special exception. The current rule is you have to get a variance. OP, Office of Planning, is suggesting we make it much easier to do this and use special exception. And here's the thing that is most insidious, if I haven't mentioned this already. If builder A gets a special exception to move a couple of feet closer to the street, then this entire gray box moves, because now on that street, the range of buildings close to the street is extended. So there's a creep built into this policy of allowing people to build closer to the street. Everybody who builds closer to the street essentially changes the rule for all the builders following. So it's a creep. I think certainly in our neighborhoods, I think we could have almost unanimous agreement among our neighbors that making it easy for all the houses over time to move closer to the street is not desirable for our neighbors in the neighborhood, and we ought to have a fairly strict rule that the builder has to make a strong showing. So that's what the issue is. I'm suggesting that we oppose this and keep it as a variance, and the letter says so. I'm going to stop there, but I want to have a friendly amendment to this letter as well, which I want to discuss separately, but I want to see if there are questions and concerns about this particular thing. And I see Commissioner Nowak, among others, has a question. So I will should I take down the sharing or should I keep it up?
Well, it's fine, either up or down. But I guess I have a question about the comment you stated, and I think it was on the text as well, saying that there is no minimum setback requirement in the front the way there are in the rear and side. Is there not a right of way for sidewalks? I feel like that's been in front of our commission on several occasions with homes that are too close to the street.
Yes, you may, I don't know all the rules here. I think you may be limited to the property line and not be, I don't think you can extend into the public space. But
Absolutely not. Only on your property line.
But you see,
On Elk Creek.
in our neighborhoods, people
Yes.
are building back from the property line. That's why we like our neighborhood neighbors, because they're not building right up next to the property line.
Yeah, yeah. So the drawings that you showed with that gray area of sort of the closest one sets the new standard, that is all assuming that they share a common front property line, which is where the right of way starts. So that red line at the bottom is
That's my understanding, yes.
okay. Thank you.
If I may, the setback is from the street lot line. In other words, your property line that borders the street. So if it's
Right.
if
So
the
in this
closest
drawing,
one is
just as an example, in this drawing, we might have the solid line at the bottom is the street, and the red dotted line at the bottom is the property line. And again, that margin in
You
between.
can ask to move forward to that property line, as I understand it.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Can you speak a little bit more? I'm not sure I'm understanding the text here about enclosed fronts versus open facades.
Oh, I think that has to do with whether you count the enclosed addition or not. I mean, in other words, there are rules about what counts as the front of your house.
Okay. Okay, so if I were the home all the way, the 1, 2, 3, right in the middle, it looks as though the walls of the house might stop, and then there's a front porch or something that's extending into the purple section.
Right, and that might be enclosed.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not sure what they call enclosed. It could be have a roof and still be open, you know, it could be a porch. These are beyond, I'm not a technical expert in this.
Yeah, but from Commissioner Duncan, I know you've done a lot of work with wall studies. Where would an inspector look to mark a wall study?
So the wall checks are done after a foundation has been poured and it's certified by either an inspector or a third-party person that's authorized by the city, like on their list.
Yeah.
So any porches, porticos, stairs, walkways, this is only the foundation. Everything else can project closer to the street than like basically the foundation facade.
Interesting.
Bay
Okay.
windows.
Okay. Thank you.
They're now making bay windows that are like the whole side of a house. Bay window.
Are there any other questions or comments about this?
If not, I'd like to add a friendly amendment to this for discussion. Commissioner Duncan has mentioned the fact that this hearing starts at 4 o'clock and it's going to be 24 different amendments. The Committee of 100, which is an organization many of you know about across the city, plans to comment on every one of them, and they get to speak for an X number of minutes. So they themselves are going to testify for 84 minutes. So this is going to go on for a while. And here's the serious thing. If you are looking at number 15, you have no idea when in the evening you're going to be up there to testify. And it goes on and on. And these are normal people, you know, want to testify who have jobs the next day, et cetera. Now, why is the commission doing this? Well, I can speculate why they're doing this. I learned last night that the two major people within the Office of Planning who have brought forward these 24 amendments are retiring. One of them by the end of October. This hearing is on the 30th of October, another one in November. So this whole thing looks suspicious to me. And it seems to me, although these are very nice people, Jennifer Steinglasser, something I may be mangling her name, but she's been there forever and is very professional. And Mr. Lawson, who's been there for a while, very professional. They are not bad people, but and I'm sorry to see them leave, but there has been very little public discussion, as the chairman has mentioned here, across the public. And I think people are going to look back and say, boy, did they get bamboozled. And it's really the pace at which this is being done. And why would you put 24 most of the major changes to the zoning regulations all in one omnibus and try to run it through in one hearing? That makes no sense. So, in fact, even as they present it, just one last point, as they're going to present it, they break them up into pieces, like with first 3 and then the next 5 and the next 3. In other words, they fit within various groups. And it seems to me having a separate hearing on each of those groups makes sense. So with that preface, I would like to add a paragraph or two along the lines that we feel there has not been enough public discussion and advertisement about the details of these proposals, and that having a hearing so quickly on all 24, and certainly having it all on one night in which many witnesses will become discouraged and will not stay around to testify because they have jobs the next day, that we should ask the zoning commission to use its discretion to break this up into a number of hearings. I will not mention the fact 2 people are retiring, although I am tempted to do so. I think the zoning commission might take umbrage at my implication that that's the reason they did it.
And I will second this motion, including your amendment. Is there any discussion about that, since there's a new piece to it?
No, I would like to point, there's some community comments in the chat if the commissioners want to read those.
Okay. Okay, I see. Good points. Does anybody else want to speak on this matter? Or shall we vote about text amendment 15 letter?
I say call the question.
All right. All in favor of the text amendment 15 letter with changes that Commissioner Elkins will make consistent with what he explained? Aye. 7 in favor. Okay. Thank you very much. Let's move to the Little Red Schoolhouse PCA request. Commissioner Duncan?
Motion on the floor is to send a letter to the National Park Service in support of the Palisades Community Association's bid to lease the Little Red Schoolhouse. Do I have a second? Commissioner Elkins? So the National Park Service put out an RFP, and we are pretty sure they didn't get any takers. And so when I say we, the PCA's board decided, after they extended the deadline because they didn't have any proposals, to put in a proposal. And I wasn't involved in the proposal. There were about 4 other people who were working on it. They came up with a business plan to potentially get some income, but part of that comes with renting the room. And I thought, maybe this could be a community space where it will stay open past 8 o'clock if we wanted to have in-person meetings, if a commissioner wanted, if we wanted to do a Saturday of office hours or anything like that. This would be like a terrific space for us to do it. The space needs a ton of work, probably tens of thousands of dollars. But for every dollar you put into it, you get $1 off the rent. So through some grants and some of the savings that the PCA has, I think their idea is they might spend some money to fix it up, and then they would be living, using it rent-free for a good bit of time. And this is a letter from the ANC saying, yes, we support this community association's bid. Any questions?
Questions, comments? Seems like a good idea. Could be expensive, but it's.
Are we ready to call the question?
Yeah. All in favor of this letter? 7 in favor. All right, let's move to the public space application about Loughborough Road. Commissioner Duncan?
The motion on the floor is to send a letter to the Public Space Committee opposing this proposal as written and suggesting some modifications. And I would just like to, do I have a second?
Yes, I second.
Commissioner Horn. This is the house that is at the very top of Arizona and Loughborough. It's a new build. It is up for sale. I have made multiple attempts to reach the owner of this house. The number that's on the TOPS application does not ring to anyone who's worked on this project within the last year. So I reached out to the real estate agent, left my message, my name, told them what I wanted, told them what my issues were, and he said that he would pass that information on, and I have yet to hear back from anyone. The proposal that was originally put into TOPS was from March through May of this year, and it never came across our desk because it didn't mention the curb cut. There's a lot of public space applications. If they don't meet a certain criteria, the ANCs actually don't weigh in. What I think has happened here is that they want to put a fence inside that row of hedges that they have planted in the public space right up against the sidewalk. And sometime, I think around 2015, the driveway there was expanded without a permit. It is now a driveway to a single family home that's 16 feet wide. And I believe that the DDOT inspector went out there and said, you need to make this driveway 10 feet. So now this public space thing has come up before our ANC. But my issue with it is we can't see at the corner. So if we can take this opportunity to comment, I would like to share my screen so you can see what I'm talking about here. Can everyone see this drawing? All right, so
Yes.
you're driving up Arizona to the three-way stop sign. There is a row of tight boxwood hedges here. And in DDOT's comments, they can only get 3 feet high before you have to trim them. But I will say some of the sprouting is already more than 36 inches high. And then the fence that they're going to put in, I finally did see a cut sheet. It's one of those black wrought iron fences that have the skinny posts, so you can well see through it, but you're not going to be able to see through anything when this hedge fills in. So what I would like to suggest to the Public Space Committee is that they make them replant those hedges so that from the corner to here is about 12 feet. So then as cars are coming up, they can see better what's happening here on Loughborough. Plus, we all know there's a bike lane here now. Not included in the letter, but I would like comments on this, is the driveway. Should we say that we agree with DDOT's assessment that this should be a 10-foot driveway? The new driveway, once it enters the property line, can can widen significantly. DDOT's more concerned with the curb cut and, you know, anywhere between like 10 and 15 feet from the curb. They want it small, and then you can bulb it out on your own property. Are there any questions or comments?
So are you proposing that both the hedge and the fence move off of the property line to that diagonal?
Correct. If it was just the fence, I would be far less concerned than that hedge.
But the hedge is existing already, so they're
They
not asking
just planted it, and there's this thing, you can't plant a tree in public space without a permit technically. I don't know, the hedge is part of their application. Especially as you're coming down Loughborough.
But is the hedge on public space, or is it behind their
Yeah,
property line?
totally. It's right up against the sidewalk. Like whoever buys that house is going to have to spend a significant amount of money grooming those boxwoods.
Which
The
won't
blue
happen.
line is the property line, right?
Yes. The blue line is the property line.
Wow. Wow. Why are we allowing them to wow.
I mean, there is a sidewalk there. So like in general, if there's already a nice sidewalk already put in place, there's the nice tree box, you know, people, the idea of doing this itself, if this were, I wouldn't even bat two eyes if this wasn't at a corner of a busy intersection or at a corner. It's the corner where the traffic needs to be able to see. But people plant hedges right up against the sidewalk all the time.
Commissioner
Duncan.
Blumenthal?
Yeah, thank you. So this notion that DDOT can allow planting outside the property line, but with a requirement that they be trimmed is all new to me. But if this requirement exists that the hedges have to be trimmed to a certain date or certain height, how is that enforced?
It's not, unless someone calls and puts in a 311 thing, and then a person would come out and give someone a fine saying you have to trim this. This happened recently at maybe Q or W and MacArthur as it goes down to Potomac. There was a neighbor there that was fined for overgrown bushes because nobody.
The only sort of similar that I'm aware of are the regulations about trimming trees that are into an alley. I know my property has one of those, and we got a notice, but even that enforcement is occasional.
It's generally when someone calls the city to complain.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Elkins?
Just to follow up on the hedge, are you saying, Commissioner Duncan, that in fact, you know that the public space rules do allow people to put a full hedge there? I mean, it seems so inconsistent with their rules that you cannot put a fence on the at that location unless it is 50% see-through. And so this seems to contradict that basic idea that you cannot sort of fence off your property in a way that people can't see through it, through the fence.
So this is, I have not done research on a hedge, but I will take a friendly amendment to add a sentence or two in this letter about the 50% visibility.
Right. I think
And that this completely violates. I mean, these bushes are tight. I'm also annoyed that no one's calling me back, if I'm going to be totally honest.
Are there other parts of DDOT that maybe should come to our defense on this as well? I mean, I know, of course, the Public Space Committee is part of DDOT, but it's somewhat independent, shall we say, as we learned at Eskridge Place. Are there other people within the department who worry about visibility and safety and this sort of thing? Uh,
Yeah, that might be something we could ask Karen McAllister. She's been in a lot. I see Transportation Committee Co-Chair Andrew Heimert has his hand raised. He might have answers for us.
I don't know if I have all the answers. So I can tell you with personal familiarity, the trees division, D trees of DDOT, is responsible for enforcing hedges that are growing into the sidewalk space. There are rules that prohibit hedges from encroaching into the sidewalk space, but I don't believe any further than that. So as long as it's not encroaching the sidewalk space, you're okay. I don't think there's any 50% requirement or height requirement or anything. And my experience has been that even when hedges are growing into the sidewalk space, they will give a warning or a request to trim them back, and then they may or may not really follow up 2 weeks later to do it themselves. They're authorized to, but they don't necessarily do that. So, you know, as anyone who walks along the sidewalks is familiar, often you hit branches. Those are technically in violation and it's a lack of enforcement. And DDOT is not super aggressive about enforcing it, but they're not terrible about at least coming out and doing it. That's pretty much all I can add. Thanks.
Can I just ask for some clarification on this rendering? If we look at the driveway, is it the area from the line at Arizona Avenue to the hedges? Is that space in between where we kind of have the two sections of the driveway? Is that the sidewalk?
Yeah, in fact, if you give me a second, I'm going to stop sharing and I can show you a picture of what everything looks like. What did I say that was? 4920 Loughborough? Okay, I'm going to share my screen. This is the house. So this is what the hedge looked like when it was first planted. They're almost twice that now. Maybe not twice. Maybe they're a third higher, but you can see how tight it's going to be.
And how high is the proposed fence?
I didn't see a cut sheet, but I think that in the TOPS system that they had asked it to be no more than 36 or 42 inches max. I think 36 at this location. And then this is kind of interesting.
You can see how broad that driveway is as well.
Yeah, so check this out. In 2015, you can see this is the old house. This is before that sidewalk was put in. And then these people here, I happen to know because I was part of getting this, I was a sidewalk proponent, shocker. And DDOT, these people adamantly opposed the sidewalk. So this is actually a picture of when DDOT installed the sidewalk. I think they were the one who put in that expanded driveway, and I just have this feeling that someone did that for them so that it would make them feel better about the sidewalk. But I don't know. I'm gonna stop sharing.
Is the request on the table for us to oppose the current curb cut?
Okay, yes, it is. DDOT has asked them, if you look at, on that plan, they have asked them to make it 10 feet.
So
They'll have to chop this out.
straighten out those sort of funnel shaped stuff in the tree box. Would that get them the 6 feet? If it's just
No, you have to have that apron. That is DDOT's design because the cars come in and out, so you need the apron. They would make them chop this whole thing out and re-pour this apron so that this concrete was 10 feet wide. Right now it's 16 feet. And then when they got into a certain part into their property, then they could expand it out to meet up with their pavers they have here. People do it all the time. Most new builds are like that. You'll have a skinny thing going off the street and then it widens as it goes into the property. That is what DDOT is asking them to do. I think this thing is kind of a mess because DDOT knows they've already done it. Commissioner Elkins?
I'm having second thoughts about making them tear up that driveway. That's a lot of tearing up, and I think they could say, look, we relied on the fact that when we bought this property, this apron was this wide, and we designed the whole driveway that way, and we had a right to rely on the fact that the city had given us this apron, or this, whatever the right term is. So I think maybe, although I think it'd be a little safer for the bike lane, I'm not sure it is so significant that we should make a big deal about it. I feel, of course, very strongly about the thing about the corner.
yeah.
But
Yeah, I'm
including
inclined to
protect the bike
agree.
lane.
It doesn't sound like the current builders expanded the driveway. They worked with what was there. If
Yeah.
they had gone and made it larger, then I think we'd have a play to say, you were out of bounds. But I don't think you say to a new owner, you have to correct the failings of a prior DDOT inspection or approval.
I will say this. We have approved, since my time here, probably 10 curb cuts that were moved 1 foot. I think that they may have, on one side, I think they cleaned it up a little bit. But I'm with you. I wasn't going to mention the driveway. I was going to mention the visibility at the corner. That is the motion on the before us right now, is just the hedge and fence.
All right. Is there anything else, or should we vote on this letter? All right. All in favor of this letter? Aye. 7 in favor. Okay. The next thing is the public space application at our Albemarle Street. Commissioner Cologne Roosevelt, is this yours?
Yeah. So I have this weird, I'm not really totally sure what's going on these days. The application was just deleted in QPS today, and they've resubmitted it like 3 times. There's something to do with a heritage tree like in front of the property, and the arborist hasn't approved it yet. So I'm not actually sure if like we're gonna have to weigh in again on this. But essentially the application looks good. Mostly it's not really a curb cut. They're extending like lead walks in front of 3 houses on Albemarle. And basically Trish and our idea was that we were going to send a letter to the public space committee, but mostly to DDOT to be like, in line with your plans about like sidewalk extension and Vision Zero. Would it make sense for you to get the developer to install a sidewalk here? I think Albemarle, this specific like 1 block of Albemarle has no sidewalk on either side, and given that they're already doing work there, we think it would make sense for us to have a sidewalk for. There are people there with mobility issues. There are people with strollers. It just makes sense. So that's the motion on the floor, is to approve this letter, which I can pull up. Let me share my screen. Let's see.
While you're doing that, Commissioner, I think one of the points to us with regard to the Eskridge property where we had some of the same argument was whether or not a sidewalk for that location was anywhere near on the priority for building new sidewalks in the new sidewalk plan. And so if it does have, it would strengthen our position if we knew that for a fact, that it is on their plan for the next several years, in sidewalks.
Is this is my screen working? Is my screen share working? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the letter. Yeah, I mean it's not I don't think it's anywhere near the prioritization plan, to be honest. Knowing how it goes, I think we can safely assume that it's not high up on their priorities. But you know, you don't get construction in these areas like that often. So and I think, I mean, I looked at there's like a part of DC code that says whenever there is, you know, a curb cut or construction of some kind on a street, you know, DDOT should do whatever in its power to try to get a sidewalk built there. So I know it might not be their top priority, but
I would like to suggest a friendly amendment that we put a sentence in here that says this would save the district money for when you do put sidewalks on this street.
Yes.
50 years.
And would
But yeah,
reduce
sure, I'll accept
the
that.
uncomfortable interactions with like the neighbors.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like in terms of when they try to install the sidewalk?
Yeah, it's hard for people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Sure, I
think
can add that.
you could frame it as in anticipation of a sidewalk construction in the future. This would reduce the potential conflict related to landscaping that might otherwise be placed.
That makes sense. Have any of you ever seen a permit be deleted in TOPS before? Because I've never seen that happen. And I really don't. I wonder if they're going to resubmit, actually.
So you can actually see the record when you are in the main screen in the top system. It's when you go to the reviewer mode that it has been deleted, which means
Oh, no,
we
I still
can't.
see the record, but it's been.
Yeah. You can't
I mean, I've never
get into
seen.
the place where you can put in a comment.
But they had said the comment was. They had sent me an email saying the comment was due like on the 14th, and then it suddenly got moved up to the 30th somehow. I'm not really sure because they had resubmitted, and I guess that meant they extended the comment period, but then somehow they went back on that. I don't really understand. But it hasn't been approved by them anyways yet.
I think this is a good idea as a general policy when developers are, you know, building houses and there's no sidewalk out front. That's the time to get a sidewalk that the city doesn't have to pay for. And if the city would just require that regularly, we would have sidewalks.
So the motion on the floor is to approve this letter with the amendments about the costs that might come later and also the disruption that neighbors might cause later, which I accept as friendly, and I'll put them in.
Is there any further discussion about it? Yes.
Has the motion been seconded?
No.
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, I'll second that motion.
All right. Yes, we need that on the record. All right. If there's no
any more discussion?
other discussion, we'll vote on this. All in favor of this letter as amended? Aye, 7 in favor. Okay, let's move to the last official action, which is MacArthur High after hours letter. Commissioner Nowak?
Yes, if I can please share my screen. I have a letter. And while I am pulling that up, I will present that. As everybody knows, MacArthur High School continues its construction. It is in part 3 of phase 2 of the build out to take the school from an elementary and middle school sized building and architecture to that of a full high school that will accept 800 students, accommodate 800 students. And previously, I believe it was in June, this commission had approved longer working hours for the construction teams who were there. They have that we approved through August. It was for the summer blitz. They have asked to extend those extended hours. And in doing so, they asked, I'll give the commission some background on my conversations with the project team. They asked to be able to work to 11 p.m. every night, which I thought was onerous on the neighbors. And so I told the project team that I would not be asking the commission to ask the high school neighbors to deal with contractors and their associated noise and coming and going and parking inconveniences, but would instead suggest 8 p.m. on weekdays, as well as the 8 to 4 on weekends, as we have approved in the past. So that is the motion on the table, and I'm having a hard time finding my letter, but working on that. Any questions around that? Okay. Can I have a second to the motion?
Yes, is there a second? Commissioner Duncan seconds. Is there any discussion? All right, all in favor of this letter? 7 votes in favor. Let's move to commission business. The first thing is the roundabout funding retraction. That is a letter by Commissioner Simkowitz.
Thank you, Chairperson Horn. Last month, we voted 4-3 to approve the funding of a roundabout study by a traffic engineer at Foxhall and Reservoir Road. I voted against it. Commissioner Nowak voted against it, and Chairperson Horn voted against it. Everybody else voted in favor. Before our meeting, I had asked DDOT to send us a position paper on whether they would accept the study and if they had any thoughts about it. And they got back to me. Unfortunately, they got back to me later than our meeting. So we didn't have the benefit of those thoughts at the meeting. I'm going to read their response into the record because it's pretty detailed. Hi, Commissioner Simkowitz. Thanks for reaching out and sharing your concerns for ANC3D's upcoming resolution to fund a private study for a roundabout at the intersection of Foxhall and Reservoir. DDOT does not recommend pursuing a roundabout at this location for several reasons. Technical feasibility. The DDOT safety team did a quick engineering assessment of this proposal and included the federal and industry standards and research guidance for geometrical requirements, as well as considering current traffic data that DDOT has previously collected. From a pedestrian experience, roundabouts can be challenging to navigate if drivers do not stop at the crosswalks. Traffic circles with traffic controls provide a better pedestrian experience. Without acquiring more right-of-way, we are limited to a single-lane roundabout assessment, and given the sloped conditions, some streets that lead into the intersection would enter at a higher rate of speed than others. Given current traffic conditions, delay would increase in the morning peak and for some approaches in the afternoon peak. In addition, given the current geometry, utilities would need to be relocated as well. Considering all of this, the cost of conversion to a roundabout would be substantial, as well as the impacts from traffic and trade-offs for pedestrians may not be desirable for the community writ large. The DDOT prioritization process and equity. DC's Vision Zero initiative has a target of achieving zero traffic-related fatalities, and DDOT helps achieve this by prioritizing projects on DC's High Injury Network, HIN. These streets represent only 5% of DC's street network, but nearly 50% of all injury and fatal crashes. Foxhall Road and Reservoir Road are not on the high HIN, and thus our intersection does not rank highly for need of intervention in our intersection priority model. DDOT is also committed to addressing the disproportionate burden of traffic violence across the district. Ward 7 and Ward 8 experience the highest rate of severe crashes and fatalities and receive priority for transformative safety improvements. Directing public resources toward building what results from a private study in a lower priority area raises serious equity concerns and would not be a productive use of funds. Budget constraints. In the foreseeable future, DDOT does not have the additional funds to add this onto a full study, which would essentially duplicate efforts. Design, environmental analysis, and construction. Also, we have concerns that without being the lead or directing the contractors on this project and checking their assumptions and data, as well as running through our own multidisciplinary review, we would not have full confidence in what was done, even if a study was delivered. For these reasons, DDOT would not support currently providing the use of funds to study converting this intersection to a roundabout, and does not recommend privately funded and managed traffic study to employ this option. Please let me know if you would like us to provide a written statement for the ANC ahead of their vote. Unfortunately, this was done after. The traffic controls there are a stoplight. It's a dangerous intersection, and I appreciate Mr. Beats and the Transportation Committee's analysis of this. The Transportation Committee's had several votes on this, and it's obviously very important. But a roundabout study, I never thought that this would be able to be built based on the physical layout. But having this from DDOT, this letter that was sent to us after our vote, made me bring this back up for consideration. What I ask for is that we withdraw our funding for this study based on the fact that this is never, ever going to be built. It would be a colossal waste of money. We're the stewards of the public's funding, and we would be irresponsible stewards if we were to fund this thing.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Elkins.
So Commissioner Simkowitz and I have different affection for roundabouts, but that's not really what the issue is here. I think there are two major issues. One is procedural and one is substantive. On the procedural side, we have a transportation committee, and this committee is not composed of commissioners so much as it's composed of our neighborhood residents who have volunteered to serve on this transportation committee. And just recently they met for the 50th time. They have presented tens, I haven't counted, of resolutions to this ANC. And in every case, the ANC has appreciated the work of the Transportation Committee and has adopted what they have said. Now, there's nothing that says the commissioners need to agree with what the Transportation Committee says, certainly not. But if you do feel strongly about something, I think the committee members would appreciate your attending the Transportation Committee so that they could hear your views and take that into consideration as they advise us. And what happened here was a little different. And I know that my colleague did not intend to show any disrespect for the Transportation Committee, but in fact, that's what has happened here, because during the Transportation Committee, the Department of Transportation, the very person who wrote that email to you, Commissioner, sat there and told us that they did not have the ability to do this kind of analysis and would not do so. And so that's why the Transportation Committee decided to go ahead and ask the commission to go on and get some independent traffic engineer to give us the technical review. And so, but without meeting with the Transportation Committee, my colleague did go around the Transportation Committee, went directly, and I must say secretly, to the department and asked them to comment on this. I don't know what question he asked them, but it makes a lot of difference what question you ask. But although I don't think he intended disrespect, I think in fact the effect of this is to say to the Transportation Committee, well, you residents, you sit there and you take your time every month to meet on this committee, The commissioner didn't bother to come, but he essentially tried to undercut your position without coming in and having a detailed discussion of the technical merits of this. And so I think that procedurally, this really is a disturbing effect. Now, let me turn then to the substance of what we heard from DDOT. Excuse me just a second. If I'm asking that you evaluate this email from DDOT in the same way you would in your daytime job. So apply the same analytical and substantive analysis you would if you were sitting there at your desk, wherever you sit in your daytime job. So the scenario is there's been a committee that's recommended that a contract be let to study the technical aspects. And a staff member walks in and presents this email from DDOT. And what is DDOT? And so think about how you would react to this email. First of all, it says it's done a quick engineering assessment. There's no documentation, nothing about what numbers they considered. They conclude that the roundabout should not be built. In contrast, the Transportation Committee is asking for a professional traffic engineer to do the analysis and come back and tell us the analysis, not just give us the result. This is like when you ask the lawyer, "Can I do this?" and the lawyer says no, but they don't ever help you figure out how to do it. Anybody had that experience with lawyers? Anyway, secondly, the email cautions against pedestrian safety here. But those of us who, within the Transportation Committee, who've looked at the literature on this, realize that, in fact, that there is literature that shows that if you pull the crosswalks back from the roundabout, that, in fact, pedestrian safety is appropriate. What worries me here is this: whoever wrote this either doesn't know the literature or decided not to tell us about it. And either way, I think that discredits their point. It does talk about the fact there might be some delay in traffic. Well, the Department of Transportation often has delays or takes actions which delay traffic in order to provide better safety. So I think there's a trade-off here always between how fast cars can go and how fast they get to work and the safety of the rest of the community. I'm not saying, I don't know where that trade-off is, but they decided, well, the trade-off obviously is in favor of the traffic, so therefore this doesn't make any sense. I have a problem that this anonymous person isn't here. And then he tells us that ANC3D doesn't rank high enough in terms of how the department allocates its resources. And we all agree that some of the other areas of the city ought to be well treated, but ANC3D really hasn't had that many requests. And even though we don't have high injury networks, they did come once we had a death on Foxhall, they did come and make some changes. So I'm not sure that this argument about they set priorities and we don't rank doesn't really, is not determinative. It certainly is relevant. And finally, the most ridiculous part of it is they say that they don't have any money. Well, of course they don't have any money for this project. I mean, really, that's not the way the Department of Transportation works. They don't have a whole bunch of money sitting around and say, oh, there's a good idea coming from the community. Why don't we fund that? No, that's not the way they operate. What we were suggesting was if at some point, after the analysis and after a lot of discussion with the community, which has not taken place, we decided as an ANC that we thought that a roundabout is worth doing at that dangerous intersection. We would go to Councilman Fruman, and we basically would say, Matt, can you please get this in the mayor's budget? And if we couldn't get it in the mayor's budget, we might as well forget it, because DDOT doesn't do projects that are dreamed up by neighborhoods. They like to dream up their own. So I think that the email really bothers me, and I guess what I'm suggesting is you may not agree with all my arguments, I'm suggesting that this email coming after the fact, not put before the Transportation Committee. Nobody comes up in front of the Transportation Committee. They say they don't have people who could do this, and suddenly they can write emails. That's not the way we ought to make decisions in this ANC. And that this memo should not be the basis for changing our vote. So that's my view of this. And I'm not mad at my colleague, Mr. Sinskowitz, but I would ask that we please don't do this in the future. If you just, not for me, but for the Transportation Committee. These people work hard. They're neighbors. They're not ANC commissioners. They don't get any credit for this. And this is not the way to send a signal that, well, we don't care about you. We're going to go straight to the department and get an opinion that is opposite. So thank you.
Just to, I just wonder whether there is something that we can do that's in between. Would it be possible to refer this back to the Transportation Committee with this letter, have the Transportation Committee try to figure out, you know, the value of this letter and come back to us? Because it's my understanding, and maybe I'm wrong, that we haven't paid that money, so we could delay another month.
We have not spent the money, that's for sure. But this letter was in front of the Transportation at the last meeting. This letter, in my view, and you heard my view, is that it's worthless without the person who's actually going to sit there and be an expert and interact with the committee. And so, no, I don't think it's worthwhile sending the email back to the Transportation Committee. They've already seen it.
Commissioner Duncan?
I would like to reiterate what Commissioner Elkins said. This whole thing came up at the Transportation Committee, and there was a general sense that what is the point of DDOT coming to all of our meetings, listening for 4 months as we talk. This roundabout was on the agenda for at least 4 months before we brought it up for this vote, and for them to come in at the last minute. I'm voting against JP's resolution out of spite for DDOT. And I like Chuck's speech. It's convinced me.
I don't know if that's a good argument, but who would like, oh yes, Commissioner Nowak.
I can appreciate Commissioner Elkins' theory and reasoning on process. I think the transportation works really hard and does great work and is very analytical in their thinking. But I think that the DDOT person brings up all the reasons why this is going nowhere. You know, it is not unlike a situation where I've been trying to think of what sort of analogy I might use that would offend the fewest people. So roll with me on this one a little bit. You go to your doctor and you say, I know that I'm unhealthy and I want to get thin and I want to get fit. And so what I've decided to do is inject bleach. And the doctor doesn't have to say, let me do a detailed analysis of why that's a terrible idea. But they're a professional, and so they will outline all the reasons why not only is that a terrible idea, but also that it's not going to work. And that is what's happening with DDOT here. They're saying, okay, it's not going to work for all these sort of engineering reasons. So they lay out those reasons, but they said, even if all the engineering works, you're not going to get the money because the city has made a decision to prioritize funding to the areas that are the most dangerous. And ANC3D is many things, but we are not the most dangerous, even in the wake of a fatality, which was A, tragic, but B, not in this intersection. That's the thing that we keep tying back to, oh, there was a fatality on Foxhall. The fatality was at a different traffic light that would not be impacted even if there were a roundabout at the intersection that's being discussed. So again, I want to separate the process, and I can see why the Transportation Committee would feel offended that commissioners went around them, but that does not take away from the substance that this is just throwing money into a pit. And I yield at that.
Yes, Commissioner Simkowitz.
First of all, I didn't disrespect the Transportation Committee. I talked to Andrew Heimert, who's the chairperson, on several occasions, and I explained that my constituents gave me the following words about this project: stupid, idiotic, moronic, farcical, ridiculous, and a waste of money. These are people that live right around here. My parents live at this intersection. The opposite intersection is my friend's house that he used to own. It's got that big wall there. You can't move the wall. The German embassy is on the other corner. They're not going to give up any right of way. My parents' little strip is not going to give up a house to build this thing. And on the other one, maybe they could take some land over there. But you've got a problem with the physical layout on this thing. I told Mr. Heimert this. I could have gone to the Transportation Committee, but they don't lead this ANC. They advise us. They bring their ideas to the table and we vote on them. We don't have to rubber stamp what they do. I appreciate that they do this hard work, and that's great, but we don't have to follow what they tell us to do. I asked for this thing from DDOT. I didn't go around anybody's back to do that. I sent the email out, as everybody should do when there's a issue. I was doing my job, Commissioner Elkins, and they sent it back a little late. I think what we could do is we could invite Christoph from DDOT to defend his email. If somebody wants to hear more about why this will never happen, but it's never going to happen. We asked for a hawk light on Foxhall Road after the Bollinger death. Again, not at the same intersection, but at the place where there's no anything to cross Foxhall Road. And we asked for anything that would help. They gave us not a hawk signal, but some sort of concrete barricade that will slow traffic down. And I think it will slow traffic down. So we did get that out of dealing with DDOT over a period of years. Should DDOT go to the meeting and comment? I don't know. That's they're a district agency, and the district agency does whatever they want to do. We have no control over that. I asked to talk to you personally, Commissioner Elkins, and I called you up and you hung up on the phone for me. You said you had other things to do. If I can't talk to you on the phone, what good are you? This is, it's disrespectful.
Thank you, but I do need to say I was involved in the shutdown issue, and I was working 24/7 on that issue, and I told you I did not have time to talk about it. So
Well, did you call me back later, Commissioner Elkins?
apologize, but you were harassing me over and over again, and I said
No.
I have to get back to work. Thank you.
I called you to talk about this issue.
Yeah, that's not really to the issue. That's not really to the issue. Actually,
Okay.
there is an issue here about whether it's a good use of money, or whether the communication from DDOT changes whether we should pay for this study. And that's what we should stick to. Commissioner Blumenthal?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I just feel it's like this debate is moving off into places that don't merit this much of our of the meeting's time. I hate the process that got us to this point, and the way DDOT handled it, but like it or not, they're not going to move forward on this, so I don't think it makes sense to spend the money, and I'm not inclined to fight over this resolution as some sort of I don't know, method of getting at other things. I would support, if someone wants to make it, a resolution to ask the Transportation Committee to interrogate, to discuss with the DDOT liaison what in the world happened with this process and how they can somebody in here said, I think, what's the point? What's the point of, I think it was Commissioner Elkins, what's the point of having them come to meetings and give us one answer 1 month and a completely different answer another? But it's separate from the issue of whether we should spend the money to do this, where I've come to agree it makes there's no reason to spend the money now, so I'm happy to support that. I'd support the motion for that reason.
All right. Any other discussion? I think we should go ahead and vote. All in favor of Commissioner Simcoe's motion that we rescind the money, aye. 5, and those against, 2. All right. Let's move on. Treasurer's report. Commissioner Elkins?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just let me change just a second here. Okay, Treasurer's report. We are in good shape as usual. In the bank account and our checking account, we have $33,000. And we have about $45,000 in our savings account. So we have whatever the numbers are, $79,000 worth of assets. If we were to go unfunded for the next 4 years, we would survive. So we are in good shape. Every organization should feel just as healthy, I guess. Although one could ask, as it has been asked in this commission, what are we doing with this money? So that this treasurer's report does not require a vote, Mr. Chairman, so I could move on to the QFR if you wish.
Yes, please.
The QFR is our quarterly report, which we are required to do. And it basically sums up what we've done for the last quarter. And I'll see if I can bring it up. Probably not. Let's see. I'm in the wrong place. Hold a second. I don't know what's wrong with my computer here. Bear with me. I have lost control here. Cannot share my screen. Hold a second. Let's see.
Isn't this on the website?
Do you want me to pull it up?
Could you? I mean, for some
Yeah.
reason, I've lost control of the sharing.
This is the final budget document you sent, right? Here we go.
Are we doing the budget or the
Not the budget, not QFR.
Sorry.
So just for the clarity of the record, the agenda indicates that it's a second quarter report, but this is actually be Q4 of
That's, that was a typo. I don't think it was mine, but
it was mine.
So this will be closing us out of
this is very, thank you, former treasurer, because we want to adopt the correct one. I can imagine Dawn coming back and saying, nope, didn't count. Okay.
I'm still traumatized by the revotes on prior reports.
Right. Whoever serves as treasurer gets to endure this sort of thing. So I think really the best way to look at this is the next page, because it tells you what really happened during the last quarter. And you'll see that Catherine was paid twice. Mr. Hendog, who's our transcriber, was paid twice. We paid the bank $33 to stop payment on a check that was voided, and it's all has to do with crossing the T's and dotting all the I's. And you'll notice that our savings account earned, let's see, about $1. And you know, I've thought various times we should be spending this money better, but I don't think I will investigate, but I don't think we're allowed to put it into something more valuable. I don't think they trust us. So anyway, you can see that everything was normal this month, and so this quarter. And so therefore, I would like to move that we adopt this quarterly report and to send it forward downtown.
Second.
Any questions, comments? All in favor of adopting this report? 7 in favor. Then you've got the final budget.
Let me see.
I can do that.
And you do. Thank you. Thank you.
So I have up the document, the final.
Yes.
Just let me know if you want me to put it on a different tab or what.
Well, I think slowly we'll just scroll down through this. First of all, as I mentioned, we have, well, it's only 78,500, so I was incorrect. Total amount of money in the bank. And I'm proposing, and when I say I'm proposing, I'm doing this as treasurer. This is not for me, this is not a policy issue, okay? I'm simply taking last year's budget and bringing it forward with any minor changes that are necessary. I'm proposing a budget of 19,700, which is slightly over the allotment that we will get from the district. So we're dipping into our savings by about $1,800. So if you move on down, you'll notice that I described this last time. Marilyn and I had a dispute about whether Catherine's money ought to be put into personnel or not. And since I got to be treasurer, I decided to exercise my discretion. So it's the one thing I could do. Okay. So I've moved it down to further down below, which you'll see later. Okay. Secondly, I'm saying that we might need to rent some office space. Meeting space. I think it's unlikely, but I've saved some money just in case, so we don't have to argue with the people downtown. The website hosting is costing us about $350. We have other software. The major one, the reason it's so big, is the engagement software, which is $2,000.
I have a question about that, Commissioner. With the move to go vocal, doesn't that then reduce our reliance on the engagement software and the $2,000 price tag for that?
It went from 4,000 to 2,000.
Okay.
So yes, it does, but the number is 2,000. It used to be 4,000.
Okay, thank you. So that is not paid centrally by OANC?
No.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
They deny all knowledge of this software. And everybody goes at their own peril. I stick in $100 for supplies, and then most important here is the grants. This is not a new grant. Traditionally, what we've done on grants is we have waited until a good grant proposal came in. We've decided whether to fund it. If we fund it, we say, oh, we've got $78,000 in the bank. Why don't we go fund it? That is perfectly legal and appropriate within the rules. You don't have to have it in your budget. If you have it in your budget, you can spend it without lots of paperwork. So this is the previous grant, $2,600, and they have not yet asked for us to write a check. And so I put it there because I know unless they change their mind, that they're going to come to us and ask for us. And then down below, we have money for basically two functions. One is our administrator, which I budgeted in at about $9,000 for the year. Transcribing about 1,000, so that takes us up to 10,000. And then I stuck in another $3,000 in case we want to do anything else. And this has nothing to do with the previous conversation that we had about the roundabout. This is next year's budget. And so that totals up to 19,700. We can spend more than that. We usually spend less than that. This is a discipline process that is required of us, which is appropriate to think ahead. But we have a lot of flexibility within it. So I make a motion that we approve this, but well, and we obviously want to take comment on this, but for taking comment, I make a motion that we approve this budget.
Yes, is there a second for the budget? Commissioner Duncan seconds. Any discussion on the budget?
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward. All right, all in favor of approving this budget? 7 in favor. Okay, we move to the annual report.
So we are tabling annual, I move to table annual report till next week. It's not done.
Very good.
Next month, you mean,
Next
right?
month, next month.
We will do that by unanimous consent. The next is the approval of the minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Horn. I shared the minutes with commissioners today, and thank you, Commissioner Duncan, for publishing those to the website. They are the minutes as edited by one of my colleagues, pointing out a couple of things. So that has been updated. Can I please get a second on those?
Commissioner Simcoe seconds. Are there any discussion about it? They looked good to me. All right, I see no discussion. All in favor of approving the minutes? Aye. 7 in favor. So as far as I know, that's the last of the regular business. The next meeting is Wednesday, November 5th. Does anyone have anything to say before we adjourn?
Sorry, did you say December?
I'm sorry, did I? November 5th. I may have, who knows?
Wednesday this.
Just let
Wednesday, November 5th.
Let everybody know in terms of having a quorum that I will not be here. I will be off in Europe, having a good time and be envious, okay? But I'll be in Venice getting my feet wet.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
That is great.
And I'm not going to tune in by Zoom either.
In the middle of the night. In the middle of the night. Although you can train with the text omnibus amendment, you can get your midnight oil in.
Ah, there we are. I'm hoping that Commissioner Duncan takes care of all that.
All right, hearing no more, we are adjourned. Thank you so much. Good meeting.